Good evening, I am Tammy Reed and with your VON Major News Package for today, Friday, 27 September 2019. In our lead stories nationally, Nevis' premier urges all to be vigilant and pay attention to warning post-Hurricane Dorian, and a number of bills to be presented in the Nevis Island Assembly on October 1st. Regionally, UN to investigate alleged human rights violations in Venezuela. Internationally, Ukraine's former foreign minister contradicts Trump allegations. And in sports, Afghanistan appoint former South Africa all-rounder Lance Klusener as head coach. We'll have the details to these and other stories after this message.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Vaughan.
Welcome back, and now the national news in detail. Nevis' Premier, the Honorable Mark Brantley, has issued a plea to the public as we approach the peak of the 2019 Atlantic hurricane season, particularly taking into consideration of what transpired in the Bahamas. He spoke of the damage caused by Hurricane Dorian.
We can only look to the Bahamas where it started with Hurricane Dorian to see the damage and the devastation to life and property that storm can cause. And so I am again appealing to our people to be vigilant and please to pay attention to the warning and do not let our guards down and take it for granted. If we needed any reminder in 2017, we had Maria and Irma. And now, less than 2 years later, we have the devastation of Dorian with massive loss of life and property. So please, let us heed the warnings and do the best that we can to stay safe.
Premier, the Honorable Mark Brantley. Hurricane Dorian was regarded as the worst natural disaster in the history of the Bahamas. It was the fourth named storm on the first major hurricane of the 2019 Atlantic hurricane season. Dorian struck the Abaco Islands on September 1st with maximum sustained winds of 185 miles per hour. It went on to strike Grand Bahama at similar intensity, leaving structures flattened or swept to sea, and at least 70,000 people were left homeless. Hurricane Dorian killed more than 62 people and caused at least $7.5 billion in damages, with the vast majority of the deaths and damage occurring in the Bahamas. 53 out of the 62 deaths have been confirmed in the Bahamas. On Friday, September 20th, a contingent of police officers left St. Kitts and Nevis for the Bahamas, where they are assisting with security and recovery efforts, which is also part of a larger response being coordinated by the Regional Security System, RSS. In addition, as part of a decision made by the OECS authority, SKN will provide financial aid of US $100,000 to the country. A sitting of the Nevis Island Assembly is slated for Tuesday, October 1st at 10 a.m. at the Assembly's Chambers, Hamilton House in Charlestown. 4 bills will be introduced. According to the order paper circulated by the Clerk of the Assembly, Ms. Myra Williams, they are namely the Integrity in Public Life Amendment Bill 2019, the Nevis Taxi and Bus Operators Amendment Bill 2019, the Nevis Animals Trespass and Pound Amendment Bill 2019, and the Nevis Physical Planning and Development Control Amendment No. 2 Bill 2019. During the public business segment of the sitting, the Premier and Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Mark Brantley, will move the second and third readings of the Nevis Taxi and Tour Bus Operators Bill 2019, and the Honorable Spencer Brand will move the second and third readings of the Nevis Planning and Development Control Amendment No. 2 Bill 2019. The sitting will commence with the formal entry of the President of the Assembly, Honorable Farrell Smithen, followed by prayers A motion for the approval of the order paper as circulated, messages from the Deputy Governor General of Nevis, Her Honor Mrs. Hailita Liburd, announcements by the President, papers to be laid, statement by ministers, personal explanations, the introduction of bills on first reading, and the adjournment. The last sitting was held on Tuesday, May 21st. This will be the third sitting for 2019. Kitishans and Nivisians living in New York gathered at a town hall meeting which featured Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris and cabinet colleagues in the Bronx, New York on September 26. Prime Minister Harris, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley, Minister of Public Infrastructure, the Honorable Ian Patches Liburd, Attorney General, the Honorable Vincent Byron, and St. Kitts and Nevis's Ambassador to the United Nations, His Excellency Sam Condor, spoke about the development taking place in the Twin Island Federation. Some of the areas broached were the reduction in criminal activity, legislation such as the motion of no confidence bill that was recently passed to strengthen democracy and to prevent motions of no confidence laying in suspension. Other matters that were presented including the growing diplomatic footprint of St. Kitts and Nevis and its improved relationship with several countries, including Canada and the African continent. Prime Minister Harris, Honorable Mark Brantley, and His Excellency Sam Condor are in New York for the 74th session of the United Nations General Assembly. The Ministers of Foreign Affairs of CARICOM gathered in New York for their 12th special meeting of the Council for Foreign and Community Relations, COFCOR. This special meeting is a feature in the margins of the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA. Among the issues for the St. Kitts and Nevis delegation was blacklisting, which Foreign Minister, the Honorable Mark Brantley, described as a unilateral and unfair practice by the European Union imposed on sovereign states and which our region continues to challenge. Minister Brantley and his CARICOM colleagues also engaged with the Foreign Minister of Norway, a former Prime Minister of Canada, and Under Secretary of State of the United States. The region's top diplomats also spoke on the 5 UN high-level meetings on climate action, universal health coverage, sustainable development, financing for development, and the SIDS Accelerated Modalities of Action Samoa Pathway. The status of the BBNJ negotiations was also discussed by the ministers. They also engaged with third states, including Singapore and Ireland. The Timothy Harris-led Team Unity government is continuing in its effort to foster peace in the Twin Island Federation. The most recent move comes with the signing of a giant inflatable football by the Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, on behalf of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis in solidarity with Football for Peace, a global diplomatic sports movement that uses football to bring children from different backgrounds, cultures, and faith together. This is geared towards fostering unity and understanding through the game. The signing took place on Wednesday, 25th September, at an event promoting the power of dialogue through sports to prevent and counter violent extremism. Speaking at the event, Prime Minister Harris indicated that this initiative also promotes healthy living as it relates to physical fitness. He exclaimed that, and I quote, "We are now emphasizing physical fitness as one way to improve our health and wellness. And so every activity that increases physical activity is being encouraged and promoted in St. Kitts and Nevis, some through football, some through walks, some through swimming. Whatever the activity, we are encouraging our citizens and residents to develop a hobby, and we hope more of our young people like you will gravitate towards football," end of quote. In August, the Team Unity administration launched St. Kitts and Nevis SKN Moves, a national program that encourages the public to achieve their highest levels of wellness and productivity. Finally, October is observed annually as International Month of Older Persons, with October 1st observed as International Day of Older Persons. The day is celebrated by raising awareness about issues affecting the elderly, such as senescence and elder abuse. It is also a day to appreciate the contributions that older people make to society. As such, the Social Services Seniors Division has launched its annual essay competition. This year's topic is, what are the qualities and accomplishments that are necessary to justify senior citizens as human rights champions? According to a release from the department, there will be 3 judge categories: primary school children 12 years and under 600 words, secondary school persons 13 to 18 years 1,000 words, and seniors adults 55 and over 600 words. The deadline for submission of essays is Tuesday 15th October and winners being announced on Tuesday 29th October. All entries must have an introduction and a conclusion, as entries will be judged on content, subject, creativity, structure, and grammar. All entries must include a cover page with the participant's name and contact number. That's the national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com or check us out on Facebook at Von Radio or our Von Radio YouTube channel for these and other stories. News from across the region is next.
Life can be more fulfilling when we take the time out to smell the roses. And that's why your friends and family at the Bank of Nevis are experts at picking the flowers that best describe you. Whether you're planning to treat yourself after a long work week or finally getting around to that closet update, you deserve all the special things that life has to offer. And the Bond Visa card is here to help you achieve it. With just a swipe, you can turn a last-minute lunch date with friends and family into something worth remembering, with memories that will last a lifetime. Pampering yourself just got a whole lot easier. And after all, you deserve every refreshing moment of it. The ability to make your travel arrangements at your own convenience, whether by sea or by air, now rests within the palm of your hand. With a single swipe, the Bond Visa card can put a world of difference between life and truly living. Whereas the only limits you may have is your own imagination. Apply today. The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life.
Welcome back, and now the regional news in detail. The UN Human Rights Council will investigate alleged human rights violations in Venezuela, including execution, disappearance, and torture. The forum approved sending a fact-finding mission after a resolution was put forward by Venezuela's neighbors and backed by European countries. Many of the 6,000 deaths in security raids since January 2018 could have been extrajudicial executions, it said. Venezuela's envoy said the hostile text was part of a U.S.-led campaign. The BBC's Imogen Folks reports.
Venezuela really did not want this vote passed and tried to dismiss those backing it as simply following the orders of Washington. But Venezuela's neighbours, Brazil and Peru, presented a stark picture of the humanitarian crisis they were witnessing firsthand as they try to support millions of Venezuelans who have fled. Add to that a bleak report by the UN Human Rights Commissioner, which detailed thousands of extrajudicial killings by Venezuelan security forces as part of a policy the UN believes to terrorize the population.
Bahamas Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis has announced that the areas affected by Hurricane Dorian, which impacted the archipelago as a Category 5 hurricane at the beginning of September, will be designated as economy recovery zones for the next 3 years. The designation given to East Grand Bahama, Abaco, and the surrounding cays is aimed at enabling those communities to benefit from a broad range of tax breaks and incentives and other means of support, he said. On September 1st, Hurricane Dorian slammed into Abaco before going on to unleash its fury on Grand Bahama. Prime Minister Minnis says that for the communities of East Grand Bahama, Abaco and the surrounding cays to get back to their former levels of social and economic vitality, it will be critical for the government to move with determination and haste to establish the right environment needed to restore commerce in the affected areas. He said that those displaced persons that are resident in other islands of the Bahamas will be able to move back with the employment and entrepreneurial opportunities that will allow them to maintain themselves once they return home. Still in the Bahamas, the government has signed an agreement with Carnival for the $100 million development of a cruise port in Freeport in hurricane-hit Grand Bahama. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis said the signing was significant in the restoration and recovery of Grand Bahama following Hurricane Dorian's devastation of that island along with Abaco earlier this month. Out of Jamaica, the National Water Commission, NWC, will be writing off the debt of some customers who have been severely affected by the recent drought conditions. Minister with a portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Senator Pernell Charles Jr. made the announcement on Tuesday. The government does recognize that this prolonged drought has had an intense impact on several communities. Residents in communities that were subjected to the frequent and prolonged service disruptions will be the beneficiaries of a bill redemption system under very specific conditions and through specific procedures, he said. NWC President Mark Barnett said the write-off will cost between Jamaica $100 million and Jamaica $150 million. Barnett said the notification to customers who will benefit from the measure will be done through the Revenue Department of the NWC. He said that customers' accounts will be adjusted internally and they will not have to visit the NWC offices. Finally, out of Dominica, Dominica's Ministry of Health and Social Services has seen an increase in dengue occurring on the island. Since the beginning of September, there has been an increase in hospitalization due to dengue. A few of them required admission to the intensive care unit. All admission cases were managed and discharged upon improvement. There have been no reported deaths from dengue fever at this time. The beginning of the rainy season throughout the Caribbean region has seen an increase in the dengue transmission. Dengue is an infectious disease caused by a virus transmitted by the Aedes aegypti mosquito. The symptoms include a high fever, eye pain, intense headaches, severe joint and muscle pain, vomiting, and a rash. That's it for our regional stories. Stay with us for news around the world. Welcome back, and now the international news in detail. Ukraine's former foreign minister Pavlo Klimkin has contradicted allegations by President Trump about the sacking of the country's prosecutor general 3 years ago. Mr. Trump has accused the former U.S. Vice President Joe Biden of demanding the prosecutor general sacking because it was investigating Mr. Biden's son. Mr. Trump is facing impeachment proceeding in the U.S. over the case. The BBC's Joa Fisher reports.
The problem for Donald Trump is that his claims relating to Joe and Hunter Biden in Ukraine have no evidence or credible voices supporting them. Pavlo Klimkin was Ukraine's foreign minister for the last 5 years. And in an interview with the BBC, he said it was clear back in 2016 that the country's prosecutor general was forced out because his offices were systemically corrupt and that his ouster had widespread international support.
Nigerian police say they have rescued nearly 500 men and boys from a building in the northern city of Kaduna where the detainees were allegedly tortured. Those held at the building, which housed an Islamic school, included a large number of children and some were found chained up, police said. Kaduna Police Chief told the BBC the building was raided after a tip-off about suspicious activity. He described it as a house of torture and a place of human slavery. Some captives were as young as 5, police said. A British flag oil tanker has left Iran 2 months after it was seized for allegedly breaking maritime rules. Sina Bulk, Stena Imperial's Swedish owner, said on Friday it was on the move from the Bandar Abbas port, where it had been anchored since 20th July. The vessel was taken in the Strait of Hormuz 2 weeks after an Iranian tanker was held off Gibraltar with the help of the UK Royal Marines. Tehran has strongly denied that it took the ship as an act of retaliation. Finally, Brazilian officials are investigating the source of a vast oil spill that has hit dozens of beaches along the country's northeastern coast. Analysis showed the oil found was a type not produced in Brazil, the environmental agency IBAMA said. There was no evidence that fish and shellfish have been contaminated, but at least 6 sea turtles and a seabird have been found dead. A cleanup operation is underway in the affected areas. And that brings us to the end of our news segments. The latest in sports is next.
Promises to be one of the hottest. Keep cool. Shop at the TDC Home and Building Depots. Get up to 25% in savings on fans, air conditioning units, coolers, refrigerators, freezers, pools, and so much more. So don't sweat. Visit the TDC Home and Building Depots on Frigate Bay Road or Penny's Industrial Estate today and beat the heat. Terms and conditions apply. Offer good while stocks last. See stores for details.
Welcome back. Another sports in detail. In cricket, Afghanistan have appointed former South Africa all-rounder Lance Klusener as the team's new head coach. Klusener has previously been a batting coach for South Africa and Zimbabwe. He replaces Trinidadian Phil Simmons, who stepped down after Afghanistan failed to win a match at the World Cup in July, where they finished last. Klusener appeared in 417 internationals between 1996 and 2004 and was part of the South Africa side to reach the 1999 World Cup semi-finals. Afghanistan will contest 3 T20 and one-day international matches against West Indies in November. In football, Roma have handed a lifetime ban to a supporter who racially abused Brazilian defender Wang Jesus on social media. The Serie A side tweeted an image of the messages, including details of the account, and confirmed that they had reported the incident to the police. The public denunciation was met with widespread appreciation on Twitter. It comes after anti-discriminatory body FARE said Italian football authorities and their disciplinary systems to combat racism were not fit for the purpose. FARE Executive Director Piero Powa added, "The rot is deep and no one is taking the issue seriously," but Serie A insisted it was seriously and constantly engaged in activities against racism. In NFL, pop star Shakira and Jennifer Lopez have been confirmed as headliners for the 2020 Super Bowl halftime show. The concert is one of the biggest in the world. Over 98 million people watched the show last year. In a statement, the NFL said the pair would perform on 2nd February in Miami's Hard Rock Stadium. Their show will be the first to be produced by Rock Nation, an entertainment company founded by rapper and businessman Sean Jesse Carter. Both artists have released chart-topping songs in English and Spanish since the 1990s. They shared the latest announcement on social media. And finally, in athletics, sprinter Christian Coleman cannot be the face of athletics following the controversy over his missed drug test, says U.S. legend Michael Johnson. The U.S. Anti-Doping Agency charged Coleman with missing 3 tests in 12 months before withdrawing the claim. The 23-year-old American is the fastest man in the world over 100 meters this year. It completely disqualifies him at this point from ever being the face of the sport. This will follow him as it should, Johnson told BBC Sport. Coleman is world indoor champion over 60 meters and won silver in the 100 meters at the last World Championships in London 2 years ago. His 9.81 seconds in the 100 meters at the Diamond League in California in June is the fastest time in the world this year. In response to the controversy, he has said he has never failed a drug test and never will. That's it for the sports segment. The general weather forecast is next. Welcome back, and now the local weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. Weather tonight mostly fair this evening, becoming partly cloudy to sometimes cloudy with a 50% or moderate chance of brief early morning showers. Winds east at 5 to 10 knots, becoming east-northeasterly later tonight. Seas 1 to 1.2 meters or 3 to 4 feet. And sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:01 a.m. And that's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Friday, 27 September 2019. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, Nevis's premier urges all to be vigilant and pay attention to warning post-Hurricane Dorian, and a number of bills to be presented in the Nevis Island Assembly on October 1st. Regionally, UN to investigate alleged human rights violation in Venezuela. Internationally, Ukraine's former foreign minister contradicts Trump allegations. And in sports, Afghanistan appoint former South Africa all-rounder Lance Klusener as head coach. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Tammy Reed, wishing you a safe and enjoyable weekend.